Albert Einstein. You hear the name, you think genius, right? E equals mc squared, the whole deal. But what if there's another layer to his story? Something not in the physics books. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to look at his life through the really fascinating lens of Vedic astrology. Einstein himself said, "The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious." I mean, those are his words. So he's basically giving us permission to look beyond just the known, beyond the conventional science. It makes you wonder, right? Could the blueprint for his unbelievable life be found somewhere other than in his famous equations? Okay, so let's be super clear. This isn't about ditching science. Not at all. It's about adding a layer, another way of looking at the mystery of this man. We're just asking a really simple but kind of profound question. What if his genius was also written in the stars? All right, let's get into it. To do this, we have to go all the way back to the very beginning. Picture it, March 14th, 1879. It's 11:30 in the morning in Ulm, Germany. And at that exact moment, according to this analysis, well, a unique cosmic blueprint was stamped into existence. So in Vedic astrology, the absolute starting point for everything is something called the ascendant, or lagna. You can think of it like your personal lens. It's the filter you look through to see the world, and it's also how the world sees you. It's a huge deal because it really sets the stage for everything else in the chart. So you're probably wondering, what was Einstein's ascendant? Well, get this, it was Gemini. And Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the planet of, you guessed it, intellect, logic, and communication. I mean, come on, it's almost too perfect, right? Right from the get-go, the very first piece of the puzzle, this chart is screaming that his life is going to be all about the mind. But, okay, the ascendant is just the first step. The chart is then sliced up into 12 sections called houses, and each house represents a different part of your life. You know, your career, your family, relationships, health, the whole shebang. This is basically the stage where all the planets get to play their parts. And this is where it gets really, really interesting. Look at the focus here. His 10th house, that's the house of career and public reputation, is just packed. It's like a cosmic traffic jam. You've got the sun, which is his very soul, Mercury, his intellect, Venus for creativity, and Saturn for discipline. That is a massive concentration of energy, all pointing directly at his public life and what he'd be known for. And get this, all of those planets, that whole powerhouse group, was sitting in the sign of Pisces. Now, Pisces is all about imagination, intuition, thinking outside the box. So the interpretation here is that he had this mind that wasn't just about cold, hard logic. No, it was also capable of making those wild, intuitive leaps, the kind of leaps that change everything. Okay, so this raises a big question, right? If his chart is screaming communication genius, then why? Why was he a late talker as a kid? It's a well-known fact. It seems like a huge contradiction. But believe it or not, this analysis says the chart actually has an answer for that too. The answer, apparently, is in his second house, the part of the chart that rules speech. And sitting right there is this astrological point called Ketu. Now, Ketu is known for being different. It brings unconventionality, sometimes delays. So the reading here is that his communication was just never going to be normal. It was destined to start late, but when it did start, it was going to be completely unique. So that unique delayed start really just sets the stage for what comes next, his most transformative, world-changing years. So let's see how this cosmic blueprint actually unfolded during his most revolutionary phase, what this astrological reading calls his Age of Rebellion. Now, to really get the timing of his life story, you need to know about something called dashas. The easiest way to think about them is like chapters in a book. They're these long planetary cycles, each one ruled by a different planet. And when a new dasha starts, it's like a new chapter begins, bringing totally different themes and events to the front of your life. So check this out. When Einstein was just 17, he entered this massive 18-year-long cycle, a dasha ruled by a planet called Rahu. And Rahu is all about rebellion, breaking rules, shattering boundaries. And just look at the timeline of his life during this period. He drops his German citizenship. He can't get a normal teaching job. And then bam, 1905 happens, his miracle year where he just completely rewrites the laws of physics. So what was the cosmic engine behind all this change? Well, in his chart, Rahu is hanging out in the 8th house. This is the house of secrets, of mysteries, of digging deep and transforming things from the inside out. So astrologically speaking, this placement was the fuel for his rebellious fire. It's what drove him to say no to the old way of doing things and to uncover the deepest secrets of the universe. Okay, so after that wild period of rebellion and breakthrough, a whole new chapter kicks off. And this next one is a story of incredible highs and really difficult lows, all happening at the same time. It's where we see global fame and deep personal struggles existing side by side. So, after the rebellious Rahu Dasha, he moved into a 16-year period ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter is the total opposite of Rahu. It's the planet of wisdom, expansion, good fortune. And you can see the theme of his life just flips, 100%. This is when he publishes the general theory of relativity, he wins the Nobel Prize. Suddenly, the struggle to be heard was just over. And of course, the chart has an explanation for this too. Jupiter, this planet of good fortune, is sitting in his 9th house. And the 9th house is all about higher knowledge, philosophy, and straight-up good luck. From an astrological point of view, this is like hitting the jackpot for academic honors and getting that kind of global recognition. But here's the thing. While his career was absolutely exploding, his personal life, well, that was a completely different story. And you can see that contradiction right here. While Jupiter was showering him with fame and success, the chart also shows Saturn, the planet of karma, of difficulties, casting a really heavy shadow over his 7th house, which is the house of marriage. That points directly to struggle and restriction in his relationships. And those personal challenges, they extended to his wider family too. Remember Ketu, the planet that delayed his speech? It was in his 2nd house. Well, that house isn't just about speech. It's also about your immediate family. When you combine that with the moon being in his 6th house, the house of health struggles, this astrological reading points towards the heartbreaking health problems that his son, Edward, had to endure. All right, let's move in to the final chapter of his life. Because in his later years, Einstein's role in the world changed again. He wasn't just the revolutionary scientist anymore. He really transformed into a kind of global sage, a voice of conscience for the entire planet. And his final dasha, his final life chapter, was ruled by a planet we met right at the beginning, Mercury, the planet of communication, the one that ruled his entire chart. And just as the analysis points out, his focus totally shifted. It wasn't about pure physics anymore. It was about using that incredibly famous voice of his to speak out for peace, for civil rights, for social justice. And so this incredible journey, a life that literally reshaped our understanding of reality, came to a close on April 18th, 1955. And here's one last bit of what you might call cosmic symmetry. He passed away during a subperiod ruled by Ketu, the exact same astrological point that marked his unconventional, delayed beginning. And in Vedic astrology, what does Ketu represent? Detachment, liberation, the end of a cycle. It's a pretty fitting final signature for such an extraordinary life. So when you look at all of this, the point isn't really about proving anything. It's about seeing a pattern. Was Einstein's genius just a random spark of brilliance, a lucky accident? Or was there a kind of destiny at play, a story that was in some way written in the stars? And that, of course, leads us to a much bigger question for ourselves. What hidden patterns might be shaping our own lives right now?